And so to try to find a home with somebody willing to go and give dremeling to this bird every 8 months or 8 weeks or so, it's going to be even more and more difficult. So that's what that's all about. So we first of all want to keep the patient in mind first. So our options are basically find a home for it, house the bird here for the rest of its life and provide medical care, or euthanasia. Those are sort of our solutions, and I prefer to avoid the last one whenever possible. And the other thing is this bird tells a wonderful story. I mean, you guys know the story, you guys spread the story, and it's exactly what our education yeah, you are the story. It's exactly what our education department does. They take cases from our medical setting, from our rehab center, and they use those as soapbox cases to spread the message of conservation and wildlife habitat especially. So, he does have a great story here. So, the other things I certainly, and Ed mentioned this as well, have reservations about keeping a fully flighted bird in a smaller style cage. Where he is right now, he's comfortable. He can spread his wings, and you'll see all of this. But he can fly. He's done laps of larger flight pens and such. So, one thing on our website is this pen. This is actually, this is not designed for him. This is one that we already have half the money raised for, just an additional eagle pen to keep up with the volume of eagles that we're getting in right now. And this one is actually kind of interesting because we actually have a tower off the back, which we can put young eaglets in and watch adults flying back and forth. It has a cage or a door on the inside that we can eventually just open up and allow those birds to fledge naturally onto branches that will be placed throughout this. So it's sort of minimizing our handling and ability to manipulate them, I guess.
And you have a lot of room to expand?
We border on, was it 350 acres of national forest?
Well, the Wildlife Center's property that we own is about a half-mile of road frontage, but we're only about 350 feet deep. And right behind the building, literally at the top of the hill, you see out the window there, is the George Washington National Forest. So that is actually government land that we manage with them under what's called a special use permit. And so we've got about 5 or 6 acres inside our cage compound that now is surrounded by an 8-foot secondary enclosure. And there's 360 acres behind that that's part of our environmental education area. So that area is closed to hunting or vehicular use or any of a number of other uses. And so we are very optimistic that if and when we need to expand, we can just move the fence.
That would go back there.
Actually, this is going to go inside our current space. And as you see when we go back out there, we do have unused space inside our existing perimeter. And so, in fact, this cage the pad's already been prepared for it. So, but that's, in fact, that's just going to go right behind the building, just up over the top of the hill.
The cage for Buddy. If the money is raised, how long are you talking? I mean, you're talking about pads, so you're going to have to pour concrete.
No, not at all. We haven't really gotten far enough to design it. This gives you an idea of what a flight cage looks like, whether we need 80 feet for him or 40 feet or whatever. He needs more room than he's got now. We'll make that determination about shape and size, but the other thing is that with this cage, we're doing specific medical things.
Yes.
It's not a habitat. Excuse me, I heard somebody mentioning yesterday the thing down in Dollywood, the American Eagle Foundation, or whatever they call themselves these days. They've got a nice flight cage there that literally goes right up the side of the hill. And they've just created an aviary over the existing landscape. And that's possibly what we would do with this cage. In our education area, the hill goes up. We're not going to move mountains to build a cage. In this case, we picked the last flat spot we had for this one. But, so again, I'm not giving you a straight answer because there's not a straight answer to give you. This is not necessarily what it will look like, but it will be out here. There will not be a concrete floor in it, I can tell you that.
It's not yet.
When I say pad,
it's when.
When I say pad, I don't mean a concrete pad in the conventional use of that word. It's just a flat area that we had excavated.
So this is just sort of an idea of what that's all about. And Ed mentioned earlier, we've been incorporating and been working with a couple of companies that produce security cameras that are weatherproof and vandal-proof and things. So I'm assuming vandal-proof also means evil-proof. But essentially the plan would be to put one of those or two of those in here and allow people to actually watch the birds as they are going through their course of rehabilitation before release. So, and that essentially is his medical story provided by our staff here. I just wanted to mention that I'm giving you the story right now, but I am only one small part of the team that worked on this guy. We've had members from our vet staff that have just been putting so many hours into giving this fellow care from, especially when he was really young and needed hand feeding every single day, multiple times a day. We just couldn't have done it without our dedicated staff here to do that, and with the resources that people like yourselves have given us in order to go and allow our staff to do that. And that's basically, I mean, allowed him to get to the stage where he is right now. And I know you're going to be very pleased when you see him this afternoon because he's quite a character.
Now he is learning to back off when y'all bring the food, so he's smart.
He is very smart.
Yeah.
And how much has he learned?
We may be able to do a demonstration of that today with one of our rehabilitators has actually taught him to get up on the scale on his own.
Oh.
And so that means we don't need to go and grab him to weigh him. So it's a less invasive way of doing it. So we're really happy. He's really happy. It's the best of both worlds. So I will tell you that. One of the other things I will let you know, we haven't announced this yet, and this is only for people who are interested. Later in the afternoon, before we either take off to go birding or we come back into this room for another session, we need to do another coping dremeling technique.
Okay.
And if anybody is
And we're looking
interested
for a
in...
volunteer on whom we can demonstrate.
All right, Rose.
So if,
That technique, I help.
So if anybody would like to watch the procedure, we're more than willing to allow you to watch that. Some of the things I'll walk you through it right now just quickly to let you know what to expect so you can make a decision throughout the rest of the course of the morning whether you want to see this or not. Anesthesia, it's you go down when you put the mask on his beak. Everybody goes through this. You go through a plane of it's called an excitatory phase. So he'll sort of struggle for a little bit, and he will be vocalizing because he's not used to being picked up. So he'll sort of be cackling at us. And when we put the beak on his beak, or the mask on his beak, he'll go down and he may just kind of do a couple of shakes, and then he'll just fall asleep. And from that point, we'll put a tube down into his trachea. We'll dremel the beak very quickly in order to get it to where it needs to be. It's been approximately 6 to 7 weeks now. And there may be a little bit of blood if we happen to hit a tiny artery going through there. So that may occur, but we stop that with a little bit of styptic powder to prevent that from going anywhere, and it heals very, very quickly within seconds. And then we wake him up, and usually on his wake-ups on the sevoflurane, he just kind of pops open his eyes and it takes a few minutes, but he sort of pops open his eyes and looks around and cackles at us some more. And we hold on to him for a few minutes just to make sure he gets his faculties about him again, and then we'll go put him back in the enclosure. So if anybody's interested in watching that later on today, you're more than welcome to. We're used to seeing this. We do this on a regular basis, and if you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate to ask me whatsoever. But don't feel that you need to see this because it's not a wild bird living his normal life. This is something that will have to happen to him for the rest of his life. So I give you that option.
Yeah, let me interrupt to say just the caveat here, the disclaimer is, as everything stands now, when we don't want to guarantee this and then have an emergency come in that will require us to use the hospital. So as everything stands now, we can share this with you with the understanding that we're still open, we're still admitting patients. Your question?
Yes, my question is he in pain after that's done?
We always give called meloxicam, which is an anti-inflammatory drug, which has wonderful properties of both taking away inflammation as well as providing anti-pain devices, or it sort of takes the nerve impulse down. And we will give him that before we put him under, so it gives an opportunity to take effect within the body. And that generally lasts for a minimum of 24 hours. After that point, there's no pain involved after that.
Like a steroid? Yeah.
It's very similar to a steroid. It's in the same kind of, it's not the same class, but it's an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
These